wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you... It's December 25th. Hello, everybody. The last 4 games on the list. It's time to go through them. Let's begin. My number 4 is a great game. I've already mentioned the first game in the series. This is the first time, well, one of the first times where I actually go to the next game in the series and say that that one is better. And that is Fallout 2. Fallout 1 was a great game. Fallout 2 fixed some of the issues of the first game and made it better. It's the same kind of gameplay, the same kind of setting, but just better and more of the things that we loved, and story and open world, and you can do whatever you want. In the first game, you were looking for the water ship to help your vault fix their water problem. In this one, you've moved out of the vault, and you are now part of a small tribe or city or village, I guess, that has built outside of vault. And suddenly, the crops are not doing so well. So you need to go and find a gecko, a Garden of Eden creation kit. Gek. It's called a Gek then, right? It's called something like that. But you need to go and find one of these, and those are obviously in a vault, right? I don't actually remember where you find it now when I think about it. There's so many things. So you need to go and find this Gek. And yeah, it's an open world. The only thing that's annoying with this game is the fact that you have a trial thing that you have to do in the beginning of the game that takes about 15-20 minutes to do, where you go through a trial thing or a cave thing and you kill ants. Oh no, not ants. Yes, you kill ants. And then at the end, you see a person that you're supposed to fight, but depending on how you leveled, you can actually talk your way out of that fight instead of fighting. And if you're not a good fighter at that point, that can actually be something that you have to reload and do over and over again. In Fallout 2, what I really love about this game is that you go out to this world, which is an open world, to find this box, basically, to begin with. But as the story evolves and the more you find out about the world around you, you realize there are other threats in the world. And I guess I can spoil Fallout 2, right? Basically, you end up killing the United States president. Yes. If I remember correctly, he's in Robot at that point. I don't remember exactly, because I don't usually go to that area. Basically, you go to an old oil rig where they hid the president and a lot of armored guards and stuff like that. And yeah, you realize that he wants to, I don't remember if he wants to blow up the world again to restart it, just to kill all the mutants in the world or something like that, but, and then just let them, like, reproduce the world, yada yada. So you have to kill him. But overall, this is one of those games. It's a slow game, gameplay-wise, but the overall role-playing experience is just so good, and the fact that you can do so many things, there's so many hidden quests and hidden items and hidden things that can happen. You can find the TARDIS in this game, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, I think it's in the second game that you can see the TARDIS, not in the first one. It's in one of the first 2 games anyway, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, you need to like this game, right? That's how it works, I think. Anyway, my number 4... It's hard to know exactly what to say about this game, because it's so vast and great. But basically, just listen to what I said about Fallout 1, then add the fact that this is better, and then you got Fallout 2, my number 4. My number 3 is a game that I've already mentioned as well. Well, another game in the series, obviously. But when I mentioned the second game in the series, I felt like I couldn't really say much about it because I've only played it through once or twice, and I didn't really remember that much of the game. But because it was the follow-up to this game, that is number 3 on my list, it deserved a slot just to be in, because it's a part of that series. And that is Parasite Eve 1. Parasite Eve 1 was never released in Europe. We had to order this from United States and ship our PlayStation, everything you did, to be able to play games from other regions. But this game, man, it's an action RPG that starts off, you play Iabrea, an old police officer, you play a young police officer that goes to an opera with your date. And at the opera, this girl, Melissa, I believe is her name, starts singing. And as she does this, everybody in the place around you starts to burn and die and scream and fall down. Some have time to run out, but most people, they just fall down burning and dead. And you don't burn for some reason that you don't know. And obviously, you also brought your gun to this thing. So you run up on stage to challenge her, and you fight against her. And she tells you that you have some hidden power that you don't know about. And that's basically how it all starts. And then you chase her throughout the opera house, or theater house, I guess. And then down to the sewage, and it's just the beginning of a great story. And the fact that the fighting in this game is so good compared to all the other RPG games. I play JRPG games that are often turn-based, and those games don't really often end up on my list. I think I have one on my list overall that has a turn-based system. And you move around, you have to use different weapons, different ranges, different settings on your weapons and stuff like that. And the fact that it's in the modern setting, that's perfect for me, because I love modern setting games, where they take a system that I really enjoy, but they make it in something that we can relate to. Obviously, I can't relate to people starting to burn randomly around me, but this game is not that long, if I remember correctly. I think it's about, well, it's long for me, because I think around 10 hours or something like that. Maybe, depending on what you do. There's also an ending area where once you finish the game, you can go there and try and kind of beat this dungeon. It's actually the Chrysler building that you go up, and each level is, each 10 levels is one stage of it. And I don't remember how many levels there are. I don't think we ever finished that completely, but yeah. Parasite Eve 1. I just remember the story very well. I remember the characters, which are very lovable. I'm kind of sad that there were no voice acting in this game, so you have to do a lot of reading, because there's a lot of talking about what's going on in the overall story. But man, this is one of those games that I really want to see a remake of. A lot of people were happy about Final Fantasy VII. That's getting a remake. I get that. I'm gonna one day play that game through. But Parasite Eve 1, get this game a remake and do it right. Because the second game felt, and I haven't played the third game in the series, the second game felt like they were going too far away from what was good in the first one. Still an okay game, still a great, still a great overall story, but man, I just want to see more Parasite Eve in that classical sense, that it's an RPG game with a modern setting with action-based combat. Well, my number 3, Parasite Eve 1. My number 2 might be surprising to some, because I haven't mentioned games like this too much on the list, I think, and they were a bit further down, so to see this game this high might be a surprise. But that is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This is, in my opinion, the perfect FPS game. So my number 1 is not an FPS game. The story was fun. When this game came out, the story was interesting. The way they did it was great. Everybody, I think, will remember the sniper mission in this game that they then recreated in all games, because every game now needed a sniper mission for some reason. The sniper mission was awesome, and the overall story was okay. I mean, I don't really remember too much of it, but when you played it, I really enjoyed it, and the single player was great. But it's not really about the single player, it's about the multiplayer. It was great. I played this on Xbox 360 back in the day. What really makes this game stand out, though, is how great the multiplayer was. I had this game on 360, the Xbox 360, and I think I put in 600 to 700 hours of game time into this game. And I did not play it alone. We were like 4 or 5 people, or even more, that played this together. And the amount of joy that I got out of this game is just amazing. The gameplay was fun, the level design was great. The fact that this was one of the first FPS games that had kill streak awards, and it only had 3. It always only had 3. The UAV, airstrike, and then a attack helicopter that helped you out. And I remember being really good at this game. Obviously, since we played it so much, I ended up quite good at it together with the ones I played with, and we won the majority of the games we played, I believe. And I after this game, they've never been able to make as good of a COD game or Call of Duty game as this one. I played the latest one, Black Ops 3, and I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel like this was Call of Duty to me. Call of Duty today is something very different to when the game series started out, and I still play this game sometimes. I still have it in my shelves. I still have the game CD, which you can install. It's out on Steam now, but I've heard that there's some issues with that if you want to go into multiplayer, because people still play this on multiplayer on the servers. There are still servers up there, unless they've closed down, but I think there's private servers, right? So there's still people out there that play this, and there's quite a big group that still play this. I don't know if they've moved on now with a few new Call of Duties that have been released since I latest played this, but yeah. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare game, the first game that they took into another era, and that is also one of the reasons I loved it. I like the first Call of Duties, the first 2-3, but the fourth one moved into a modern setting, modern weapons, added great multiplayer. The third one had fun multiplayer as well, but this one just blew my mind. And this was at the time when we played Rainbow Six Vegas still. And we got the beta for this, all of this. And we played this and we were like, wow, this... And we played a lot of Vegas. We put a lot of hours into that as well. Played as a group. But as soon as we tested this game, we just knew this is the new game that we're going to play. And for a long time. And we did. My number 2, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Alright everybody, it's time for number 1. It's the cherry on top. It's the chocolate sauce on your banana split. It's the first present of Christmas. It's like a lot of sexual references that I could make, but I'm not gonna do. My number 1 is a game series that I've already mentioned throughout this list, my top 100, and you might guess then which game this is, because this one is the best and most well-acclaimed game in that series, and it's a series that I don't think a lot of people would put on their top 100 if they were not fans of this game. That is Star Ocean, the second story. And, oh man, Star Ocean, the second story is a JRPG game that it's a sci-fi mixed with fantasy, just as I explained with one of the older ones. You're a part of a modern society. You're from Earth, and you're a part of the Earth. I don't remember the Earth Federation name exactly, but it's something like that. And you're a part of this ship that is exploring a planet. You're playing Claude at this point. Well, you're experiencing it from Claude's viewpoint, at least at this point. And they find some kind of relic or something like that. You touch it, and you get teleported to a new planet, and you don't know where you are. And you wake up, and at this place you're being attacked by a monster that you shoot down with your phaser, I believe, phaser pistol thing, and you kill it. But when you do this, you also see a woman from this planet, or girl, I guess, called Reyna. And on Reyna's planet, they don't have that kind of technology. But they have a legend of a soldier that will come. It's a warrior of light that will use light to destroy the enemy of the problems in the world and all the horrible monsters that are attacking them. And she obviously believes that that is you, because she has never seen that kind of technology. And that is where the story starts. And from this point on, you can actually choose, or you do that before this happens. You choose if you want to play Reyna or if you want to play Claude. And depending on who you pick to begin with, let's just say this as well. This game takes around 200 hours to complete. And the fact that you have 2 different paths that you can pick to begin with means that this game actually takes about 400 hours to complete, because you want to play both sides of the story. Well, at least I want to. 5-6 times. Yeah. And depending on what you pick, either you will see it from Claude's viewpoint and you will kill this monster and experience as she walks into the forest and catches you, or you will play Reyna, part of this village that she lives in, and you will go out to the forest, because I don't remember exactly why she goes out in the forest. I think she just likes to be in the forest. And the story and the world is so vast. You start on this planet and you explore it and you help them to fix their problem. really interesting thing about this is that as soon as you fix this, you actually move on to a completely different planet, and you have a whole new world to explore. And the characters in this game are great. The story is great. The action fighting system in this game is bananas fun. And this is why this game series has been so high on my list for a long time. And that is because in the fighting, instead of the turn-based system, you actually run around, you activate your skills, you can still activate spells and everything, and then you get the longest spell animations of all time. But you don't really mind that in the fight, because it's really a big, huge enjoyment factor to use those spells. And I remember this game from when I was younger. I went to school, I was maybe 6th or 7th grade, and this was one of the things that got me up in the morning. I got up about an hour early before I would actually get up, just to play this game in the morning before I went to school. And I didn't do a lot of the story because I didn't want to get caught up in a long kind of cutscene story element that I want to play through, so I just did like grinding, some dungeons and stuff like that in the mornings, but that was how much I loved it. I went up an hour early before school just to play it, and I've never experienced that with a game before. This is the only game that I've done that with, and the only game that I've played through so many times that it takes so many hours of enjoyment. Something else that is different depending on who you pick as a beginning character is actually the characters that you can find throughout the story. So depending on if you pick Reyna or Claude, you will get different companions throughout the game. So some companions won't join you depending on who you are. And something else that's interesting is that all companions, you don't actually have to find all of them. There's something called private actions in the Star Ocean games. Or is it only in this game? I don't remember exactly now. Private actions is basically when you go into a city, before you go in, you can activate the private action instead, which means that you go into the city and all the characters from your party split up and go through different sections of the city and do things. And then as you go through the city, you can't continue the story overall, the main story, but you can trigger personal stories for all the characters. So as you go through the city now, you can talk to them, people from your party, and things can happen to them and stuff like that. So there's even in the early parts of the game, if you play, it happens if you play both. It's just that you see two different sides. One of your party members, Reyna, actually, one of the main characters, gets kidnapped. And that is just a personal story. That is something that doesn't necessarily need to happen unless you've done personal stories in a certain order and done certain options throughout these different story elements. So that is, and that story itself is like an hour or 2 hours, something like that, and that is just something extra that they threw in just so that you can find. It's just an amazing thing. Star Ocean 2, or the second story, I have it in my shelf. I also have the guidebook that I got the first Christmas of the year that I owned it. I remember that I loved it so much that they got me a guidebook for it. And I have so many fond memories, and I just want to find this for the PSP. I've been trying to, but it's kind of hard now because they don't really print those games anymore, obviously, because PSP. But it's the best RPG game that I've ever played. People say that Final Fantasy VII is the best thing. I've played some of Final Fantasy VII. I can tell you already that the beginning of this game is 10 times better than Final Fantasy. And the graphics of this game, even though it's not 3D, it's sprites, and there's these kind of background images that the sprites move around on. It's beautiful, and the music in this game, I still listen to the music of this game today because it's so good. And I don't remember the I want to say producer of the music, but that's not the word. Anyway, the one who made the music has made music for a lot of different RPG games, and you can recognize his style, and it's just so good. So my number one is Star Ocean: Second Story. I really love this game. I really want to play it. As I talk about it now, I just want to play through again. And I played through it 6 or 7 times, a few times on each side. I believe I played more of Claude. No, more of Reyna probably, because one of her companions or characters that you can get to your party with her is just bananas. Yeah, Star Ocean, the second story, my number one. Thank you. Alright, everybody, thank you for watching this list. Merry Christmas once again, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you still have a great holiday, or great, a few great days now, as we celebrate the joy of being together and family, and presents, mostly. My top 100, this took a lot of effort to do. Might not seem like it, because, the way I recorded it and the way I talked about the games might seem stressed, and I was stressed most of the time. It takes a lot of time to do these. Just record these, edit these, upload, fix everything that you need to fix. And I've never written down anything that I should say about the game, and that's why some games were just like, I don't remember anything really, but I can tell you why I liked it. But Star Ocean, the second story, I don't remember every single story part, obviously, because it's a huge story, but I remember most of it. And that's from a game that is 200 hours long. I think actually the first time I played it through was 260 hours, because I did a lot of grinding and side questing and things like that, because I really enjoyed it. But yeah, thank you for watching this list. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what was the biggest surprise on the list, if you want to tell me about that. Probably nothing. Probably the first one, maybe. Thank you once again. Have a great holiday, and I will see you next year where I start streaming again. You can actually find that down below. And once again, you can find the whole playlist above my face or down below, where you can see all my 100 games from my top 100 games of all time list. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really emotional about this number one. Anyway, thank you.